Here we're entering the main part of Fort Tryon Park. You can see, built like a fort, because it was a fort. And it's very nice. And again, the Rockefellers helped do all this, and it was like amazing that they're able to do that. So as the plaque says, like, this is a historic area, and the surroundings were developed and presented to the people and the city of New York in 1935 by John D. Rockefeller. And the adjacent hilltop and the outpost of Fort Washington was gallantly defended in November 1776 by the Maryland and Virginia Regiment. After its capture, it was named Fort Tryon in honor of the last English civil governor of New York. So there you have it, world. The reason why it's called Fort Tryon. It was captured by 2 regiments of the Revolutionary Army. Obviously a strategic point guarding the Hudson. Here we can see everything here. Another view of the Hudson from Fort Tryon Park. And again, like, that was the Revolutionary Fort that was taken by the American revolutionaries. So we're just taking a look around just to see what it's like from the top of Fort Tryon Park. I'm sure much has changed, you know, because now no need to defend the park except from the birds and the squirrels. And as every park in New York always tells their visitors, do not feed the pigeons and do not feed the squirrels. But that still doesn't stop people from doing that. So you have squirrels and pigeons who make themselves at home and are very well fed, sometimes a little too well fed. And from here, the northern part of Fort Tryon, you could see better the other part of Manhattan. And those are all the apartment buildings, and in the distance you can see the Bronx, you know, but it's a very beautiful setting, and people just love it in the northern part of Manhattan. And here you can see the rest of the city. And then we'll take a look, we'll swerve to the left to take a look at the Hudson. And you can keep looking, and you can almost go, well, you can go far enough up north to take a bridge up there. It's called the Tappan Zee Bridge. And that's for upstate New York and for the traffic in upstate New York to cross from one side of New York to the other side of New York. They're actually rebuilding it because the original Tappan Zee Bridge was designed to only last for 50 years. So now it's a multi-billion-dollar project to make it possible to have a new bridge to last for another 50 to 100 years. In my opinion, I think they could have had the bridge last longer, but what they really needed to do was increase the width due to increased traffic. And so they really had to build another bridge anyway. So that was like essential for them to do that. And here you could see like all the beautiful trees and nature. And then we're looking south right now. And we'll be visiting the Cloisters very shortly. But this is a chance for everyone just to see what things are like here. Just a beautiful view of everything. And Manhattan. Now we're heading towards the old monastery, the Cloisters. That's it in the distance right there. And you can see how we have a little ways to go. And where we were is going to be to the left. So we were all the way up there, looking down on everything. But this is a part of the trip to go to the rest of the park. And as you see, we're going to take a look at the Hudson River here. Beautiful Hudson River. And as I said, we're going to go right there to that old monastery, the Cloisters. So this is part of the trip to actually go there. You can see the winding trails. I'm sure it's designed that way to more look like ramparts, to look different, to make it interesting for the people who are coming here. And you can see here, like there's a tunnel in here for a roadway, but it's all designed with people in mind for the scenic landscape. And of course, you could look at the stone and you could tell it was more designed for like the 1930s. That's when it was delivered to the city by the Rockefellers. And we're on our way to the Cloisters, but you can see the trip requires a little determination to head in that direction. So now we're just a little bit closer, and you can see the path that we took. And this is like the Great Lawn, where people picnic and do other things. Just a chance for people to relax. And in the distance, right behind those trees, is where we were. That's Fort Tryon. And you could almost make out some of the rocks where we were. But just, this is only to give people perspective. And there in the distance is the George Washington Bridge and New Jersey. So you could just make out the pillars of the bridge. And so what we'll be doing is we'll be heading north to the Cloisters. And this is just to give people perspective as to what's going on. You can see that's the pathway that we'll be taking. And that there are the Cloisters. Isn't this beautiful? And as I said earlier, I really recommend people visiting here when they're in New York. It's one of the things to do in New York. And here we are at the foot of the Cloisters. We'll be going in very shortly, but chance for people to see what it's like. Again, 1,000-year-old monastery brought here, brick by brick, rock, stone by stone, thanks to the generosity of the Rockefeller family, thanks to them wanting everyone in the world to see what it was like with European culture, with what was going on. And it was really amazing to see how far-sighted the Rockefellers were to do this. It's not easy for someone to think decades ahead what people might want. I think right now to do the same thing would be virtually impossible, because in Europe they wouldn't allow it, and in America it would be much too expensive to do something like that. This is the view from the west side of the monastery as people approach it. You can see the trail right near it. Now you have to remember, a monastery in the Middle Ages was a place of prayer, but it was also a place where a lot of the monks where they had their own industries inside there. And it was usually the sons and daughters, or in a monastery's case, the sons of very wealthy individuals who became part of the monastery, and other people too. But in the Middle Ages, being a cleric and being in the clergy was considered very prestigious, because you were fed, you had prestige. Of course, you didn't have family to leave it to, but it was always important for the nobility and important people of a town and a region to have people in the clergy, because that meant that they would also exercise influence in the community and in government. So, and a monastery, as I said, was a place of industry, because they had to create things in order to sustain the monastery fiscally. Here is one of the entryways into the monastery. And as I said before, Metropolitan Museum of Art are the folks who own this and maintain this. So it's very good that they're able to do this. You can see the high quality of the maintenance here. And this is again our entryway, one of the entryways into the monastery. And here we went past the doorway. Now we're on this beautiful cobblestone road. That is an active driveway also. I'm sure to bring a lot of supplies up here They like that. They need to use the driveway. And that's the doorway that we entered into to come to this part of the building. What a beautiful cobblestone road. You can see here the rest of the monastery. And just imagine how it must have been 1,000 years ago. I'm sure a place like this in Europe would have been an ideal location, active, with different people coming and going. This is the exterior terrace of the museum. What a beautiful terrace. That's where we were earlier. This is the west terrace of Cloisters. You can see here how beautiful this is on the outside. I guess 1,000 years ago, they probably enjoyed this also. It's a beautiful environment out here. How nice it must have been. Here you could see we were just a little bit further south before. You can see the Hudson and the George Washington Bridge, which we had seen before, right there. But again, this is the west terrace. We were inside earlier. We had come through this door right here. But it's fascinating to see how it was 1,000 years ago. I could just imagine the life of everyone 1,000 years ago. What a great life it must have been. But a life of contemplation, but also a life in a very nice environment and in helping the cities and helping everyone else out.